The rain poured relentlessly that afternoon, the streets drenched and deserted. I hurried through the crowded city, my mind focused on the meeting I was late for. Time was ticking away, and I couldn't afford to waste any more of it. As I weaved through the people, trying to avoid getting soaked, I noticed her. She stood alone on the sidewalk, her umbrella lost to the wind, her elegant coat soaked through. Despite the downpour, she seemed calm, as if the rain didn't bother her, but there was a certain vulnerability in the way she looked around, trying to figure out what to do next. She caught my eye for a brief moment, and I could see the quiet frustration in her expression. Maybe it was just the rain, or maybe it was the exhaustion of a long day, but something about her made me stop. I couldn't just keep walking past. I'm not the type of person who would normally intervene in situations like this. But there was something about her, something that made me feel like I couldn't ignore the moment. She didn't say anything, but I could see the need in her eyes. I couldn't leave her out there, not in this storm. Without thinking much, I approached her and asked, "Do you need help?" She hesitated for a second, then looked up at me, her face softening with a mix of relief and surprise. I lost my umbrella," she said, glancing at the rain, "and I don't know what to do now." Without hesitating, I pulled my umbrella from my bag and held it up between us. She blinked in surprise, but the moment she realized what I was doing, a grateful smile appeared on her face. It wasn't much, but it was enough to shield us from the downpour. "Thank you," she said softly, her voice almost lost in the rain's pounding rhythm. I nodded, offering a smile in return. "No problem. You shouldn't have to stand out here getting soaked." We walked together under the umbrella, my pace slower than usual, trying to keep her dry. There was an awkward silence between us, but it was a comfortable one, filled only by the sound of raindrops tapping against the fabric above our heads. She glanced at me every now and then, and I could tell she was still processing the unexpected kindness. It wasn't every day a stranger offered to walk you to safety in the middle of a storm. After a few minutes, she broke the silence. "I don't usually accept help from strangers," she admitted, her voice barely rising above the rain. "But I didn't want to get any more wet. Thank you for this." I shrugged, keeping my gaze forward. "No need to thank me. It's just a little umbrella." She seemed to think about it for a moment, then laughed softly, the sound almost musical. It was such a small thing, but it made the rain feel a little less miserable. "You're probably heading somewhere important," she said after a pause. "You don't have to do this." The thought of leaving her there, standing alone in the rain, didn't sit right with me. "I'm not in a rush," I said with a shrug, my eyes meeting hers for a brief moment. "Besides, it's not every day you get the chance to help someone out." Her smile widened slightly. "You're right. Thank you again." We continued walking in silence, the rain still relentless. I knew this wasn't just about the umbrella anymore. There was something about the connection between us, something beyond just helping her out of the rain. It felt like a small act of kindness had somehow bridged a gap, even though we were strangers. As we walked further, I couldn't help but notice the change in the atmosphere. The streets, once bustling with the typical noises of the city, seemed eerily quiet now. The rain had softened, but it was still enough to keep most people inside. We were about halfway to her destination, or so I thought, when suddenly, a sleek black car pulled up next to us. It stopped for just a moment, and before I could even react, the passenger window rolled down. A man, dressed in a tailored suit, leaned out and locked eyes with the woman I was walking beside. "Miss Evelyn, your father is waiting," the man said, with an urgency that made me feel like I was in the wrong place at the wrong time. Her name was Evelyn. The way he spoke to her, with such authority, made me pause. She looked up at him, her expression unreadable for a moment. Then, without saying a word, she nodded and stepped away from me, her eyes not meeting mine. "Wait," I said, my voice hesitant as I took a step forward. "Who is that?" Evelyn turned back to me, her face softening slightly. though I could still see the tension in her posture. "He's someone I work with," she replied, her words carefully chosen, but something about the way she said it didn't sit right with me. It was as though she was trying to downplay whatever was going on. Before I could say anything else, the man in the car called to her again, a bit more insistently this time. "Miss Evelyn, your father is waiting, and the helicopter is ready." Helicopter. The word hit me like a slap to the face. I stood there, blinking, unsure if I had heard him right. Evelyn caught the look on my face and offered a small smile, almost apologetically. "It's a long story," she said softly. "Thank you for walking me. I appreciate the umbrella. It was very kind of you." I didn't know how to respond to that. My mind raced with 1,000 questions, none of which made sense. Helicopter. What kind of person was she? And what had I just gotten caught up in? Evelyn quickly turned toward the car, and before I knew it, the door slammed shut, and the vehicle sped off, leaving me standing there, drenched in the rain once again, completely baffled. I didn't know what to make of it. Who was her father? Why the secrecy? And what did she mean by helicopter? The whole encounter felt surreal, like something out of a movie. I glanced around, half expecting the car to return, or for someone to explain it all to me. But no one did. The streets were quiet once more. It was only when I turned to leave that I heard the whirring of something in the distance. A low hum at first, barely audible over the sound of the rain. But then it grew louder, and I realized what it was. The unmistakable sound of a helicopter. I looked up, my heart racing as I watched a large black helicopter swoop down and land a few blocks away, right in the middle of the street. I stood frozen, my mind struggling to comprehend what was happening. Was that for her? Did that helicopter really just land for Evelyn? The man? The car? The helicopter. It all felt like a world I had no business being part of. My curiosity got the best of me, and despite the cold rain still pouring down, I found myself walking toward the helicopter, my footsteps slow and deliberate. As I got closer, I could see figures around the helicopter, some dressed in black suits, others in military-style uniforms. The whole scene was like something out of a thriller, and yet I felt as though I had stumbled into it completely by accident. I wanted answers. Why had she acted so strangely? Who was she really? Then, as the helicopter's blade slowly began to stop spinning, I saw her again. Evelyn. She was stepping out of the car, now joined by a tall man in a uniform I didn't recognize. He was speaking to her, but I couldn't hear the words. The whole scene felt surreal, like something out of a movie. And in that moment, I couldn't shake the feeling that there was so much more to her than I had ever imagined. The next morning, I couldn't shake off the surreal events from the night before. I kept replaying the moments in my head, the umbrella, the man in the suit, the helicopter, and, most of all, Evelyn. Who was she really? The whole thing felt like some strange, forgotten dream that I couldn't quite wake up from. Still, I pushed it to the back of my mind and tried to get back to my regular routine. But then, just as I was about to leave for work, my phone rang. I didn't recognize the number, but it was from a private line, which meant it was probably important. I answered, half expecting some sort of telemarketer or wrong number. "Hello," I said cautiously. "Is this Mark Hunter?" The voice on the other end was deep and authoritative, with an edge of urgency. "Yeah, that's me," I replied, now a little confused. "Who's this?" "It's Director Harlan from the Department of National Security. I need you to come with me. We need to talk about your encounter with Miss Evelyn Moore last night." I froze. The name sent a chill down my spine. Evelyn Moore. What the hell was going on? The pieces of the puzzle I had been trying to make sense of suddenly started to fall into place, but they didn't form a clear picture. "I'm sorry," what I stammered. "I don't understand. What do you mean by talk about my encounter?" "Don't worry, Mr. Hunter?" Director Harlan's voice was calm but firm. You're not in any trouble, but we need you to meet us at a secure location. It's about Miss Moore and the events that transpired last night. This is a matter of national security." I stood there for a moment, trying to comprehend the situation. I had just helped a woman get out of the rain, and now I was being contacted by someone from the Department of National Security. None of it made sense. After a long silence, I finally found my voice. "I don't know what you're talking about. I just gave her an umbrella. That's it. I know it seems strange, but trust me, this is more than just a random act of kindness. Please, come with us. We'll explain everything when you get here." I didn't have much choice. My curiosity and fear got the better of me, and I agreed to meet them. They gave me an address and a time, and before I knew it, I was in my car, heading toward an undisclosed location just outside the city. When I arrived, I was greeted by a man in a black suit who led me inside a nondescript building. The place was sterile, with no markings or signs indicating what it was. I was ushered into a small, windowless room and told to wait. My palms were sweating, my mind racing with 1,000 questions. What was happening? Who was Evelyn really? After what felt like an eternity, the door opened and Director Harlan entered the room, flanked by 2 other men in suits. He motioned for me to sit. "Thank you for coming, Mr. Hunter," Harlan said, his tone still calm, but there was an undercurrent of something more serious in his voice. "What I'm about to tell you is not easy to explain, but it's crucial you understand the situation." I sat down, my heart pounding. "Just tell me what's going on," I said, my voice almost a whisper. Director Harlan hesitated for a moment, as if weighing how much to reveal. Evelyn Moore is not just some ordinary woman. She is the daughter of one of the most influential men in the world, someone whose name is tied to government operations and international security. Her father, Thomas Moore, is a key figure in covert military operations. My mind raced to process what he was saying. "Wait, are you saying she's the daughter of a government official?" "More than that," Harlan continued. "Thomas Moore is a billionaire with connections that span across governments, militaries, and corporations worldwide. His influence is far-reaching. His daughter, Evelyn, has been kept out of the public eye for her safety. But her life is anything but ordinary. The helicopter you saw last night was part of a secure transport to one of their private facilities. It's where she's staying now." I felt as if the ground beneath me was shifting. I had given an umbrella to the daughter of a shadowy international figure, someone with a hand in things I couldn't even begin to comprehend. But why did she act like nothing was out of the ordinary? I asked, still trying to grasp the gravity of what was unfolding. "That's the part that's important," Harlan said. "Evelyn has been living under a cover story for her own protection. She's not allowed to tell people who she really is. Last night, when you helped her, it was a simple act of kindness, one that she wasn't expecting, and one that wasn't part of the persona she's had to maintain. But the moment you became involved, it triggered a security protocol. That's why we contacted you." I sat back in my chair, stunned into silence. "You're saying—" "I got caught up in something bigger than I could have imagined, that giving her an umbrella was a trigger for all of this." Harlan nodded. "Exactly. And that's why we need to ensure you're fully informed about the situation. Evelyn is in danger, and so are you. But for now, you've been cleared of any involvement in her father's operations. You were just in the wrong place at the wrong time." I didn't know what to think anymore. Everything about last night felt so simple until now. The umbrella, the rain, Evelyn, and now this world of secrets, danger, and hidden identities that I had never even known existed. It was overwhelming. "You can go," Harlan said, his voice softening. "But know this, you may be contacted again. And when you are, you'll have to decide whether you want to be a part of this world or walk away from it forever." I stood up, my legs feeling weak. I had no idea what the future would hold, but I knew one thing for sure: my life had just changed forever. And Evelyn Moore was at the heart of it all. Days passed, and life seemed to return to some semblance of normalcy. though I couldn't shake the weight of what I had learned. Evelyn, or rather, her world, was still a mystery to me. Despite the shocking revelation about her father, I couldn't erase the memory of the kindness she had shown me the night I gave her my umbrella. It wasn't just about the umbrella anymore. It was about her, the person behind the guarded persona. The woman who had been thrown into a world she never asked for, a life full of secrecy and danger. I had tried to push her out of my mind, to convince myself that whatever had happened was just some strange coincidence. But nothing about this felt like a coincidence anymore. The phone call from Director Harlan had unsettled me, and the more I thought about it, the more I realized how deep I was in. It wasn't just Evelyn at risk. It was me, too. It wasn't until 1 week later that I received another call, the same private number. My heart skipped a beat as I picked up. Hello? Mr. Hunter. Director Harlan's voice was firm, but not unkind. We need you to come to a secure location again. Evelyn is in danger. I didn't hesitate this time. I was already on edge, knowing this was far from over. I agreed to meet him, though part of me was terrified of what I might find out. When I arrived, I was escorted to a different building, this one larger and more fortified. Inside, Harlan was waiting, along with several armed men who looked like they meant business. My heart raced as I took a seat across from him. What's going on? What danger is she in? Evelyn's father has made enemies, powerful enemies, Harlan began. And those enemies have found out about her. They want her, and they're willing to go to extreme lengths to get to her. That's why we need you to help us. You're the only person who can get close to her without raising suspicion. I was confused. Wait, you want me to help you? What can I possibly do? Just like you did before, Harlan said, his gaze unwavering. Evelyn trusts you. You were there for her when she needed it the most. You gave her an umbrella in the rain, and that simple act of kindness connected you to her. That's what we need now, your connection to her. We believe it's the key to keeping her safe. I didn't know what to say. My instinct screamed at me to run, to get as far away from this world as possible. But another part of me, something deep inside, wanted to help Evelyn. She didn't deserve to be caught up in her father's world of danger. And maybe, just maybe, I could make a difference. All right, I said, my voice steady but laced with fear. What do you need me to do? Harlan leaned forward, his expression serious. Evelyn is being moved to a more secure location tonight. We need you to meet her, make sure she gets there safely, and keep her calm. She doesn't know what's going on, but we can't afford to take any chances. I didn't need any more explanation. I agreed. And that night, I found myself once again waiting for Evelyn. The rain had started to fall again, but this time it felt different. The air was thick with tension, and my thoughts raced as I stood in the shadow of a streetlight, watching the road ahead. When she finally arrived, her face was unreadable, but her eyes locked with mine the moment she stepped out of the car. I could tell she had been briefed on what was happening, but she still didn't fully understand the gravity of it. Her expression was one of quiet strength, though I could see the anxiety just beneath the surface. "You're here," she said softly, almost as if she had expected me to be. "I'm here," I replied, giving her a reassuring smile. I hoped I was convincing. I hoped I could make her believe that everything would be okay, even though I wasn't sure myself. Without another word, we began to walk down the street, the rain now soaking through our clothes, but neither of us seemed to care. We didn't speak much. There was an unspoken understanding between us. This was more than just about keeping her safe. This was about me protecting her from the shadows of her father's life, the life that had ensnared both of us in its web. As we walked, I could hear the distant hum of a vehicle approaching. I tensed, but Evelyn kept walking, her pace steady. I knew the car would be there soon, but I didn't know if we could make it in time. The vehicle appeared, a black SUV that came to a slow stop in front of us. The door opened, and two armed men stepped out, their faces expressionless. "Miss Moore," one of them said, his tone flat. "We need to move now." Evelyn nodded, and without another word, We got into the car. The doors slammed shut, and the engine roared to life, the vehicle speeding away from the city into the unknown. I didn't know where we were going, but I didn't need to. For the first time since I'd met Evelyn, I finally felt like I was doing something to help her. As we drove through the night, I thought back to the moment when I first gave her the umbrella. How simple it seemed then, how unimportant. Now, it felt like that one small act of kindness had set everything into motion. I couldn't undo what had happened, but I could make sure Evelyn stayed safe. That's all that mattered now. And as the car sped toward the horizon, I knew that this was just the beginning of a journey neither of us had chosen. But it was a journey we would take together, through the rain and the darkness, toward whatever lay ahead. As the days turned into weeks, I found myself drawn deeper into Evelyn's world, a world of secrecy, danger, and intrigue. I couldn't walk away, not after everything that had happened. She had become more than just a woman I helped in the rain. She was someone I felt responsible for, someone I wanted to protect. Every moment we spent together, I could see the walls she had built around herself, walls designed to shield her from the harsh reality of her life. The more time I spent with her, the more I understood just how much of her life had been dictated by her father's power and influence. She wasn't just a victim of circumstance, she was a survivor. But I also saw the cracks in her armor, the vulnerability she kept hidden from everyone else. It wasn't long before the threats began to escalate. The once quiet nights were filled with tension, as we received constant warnings and cryptic messages from the enemies who wanted to harm her. But no matter the danger, Evelyn never faltered. She had learned long ago how to play the game of survival. Still, it wasn't just about survival anymore. As much as I tried to deny it, I was falling for her. I didn't know what the future held, but I knew I would stand by her side, whatever came our way. We were no longer just two strangers thrown together by chance. We had become partners in a dangerous, unpredictable journey. And as we faced what lay ahead, I knew that I couldn't imagine my life without her. The umbrella had led me to this moment, to a life I never expected, but one I would never want to turn away from.